Hello, hello, hello. It is F1 Spud here, and welcome to a brand new episode of Spud Ball. It's been a while. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about the Carabao Cup final and just my personal review of the game, and of the key factors and the key players. If you are new, please drop a subscription to the channel. It is free. It is really appreciated, and drop a like on the video as well. And comment below what you thought of the game and who was your man of the match. So obviously Liverpool had quite a lot of injuries going into the game. No Salah, no Nunes, no Szoboszlai, no Alexander-Arnold, Jota Jones, Alisson, but Alisson wouldn't have started the Carabao Cup anyway. It's always been Kevin Kelleher. Obviously Bajcetic as well, and Thiago. And then it went from bad to worse when Gravenberch got fouled by Caicedo. Very nasty challenge. And Gravenberch is out now. He had to be stretchered off. From what Klopp said in the press conference today, though, it should only be a couple of games. Hopefully, they got lucky. And then Chelsea have a goal ruled out for offside. It looks really close based off the angles that they showed on the TV, but then they showed a different angle where you could see that Jackson was offside, so it was the right call. And then obviously Gakpo hits the post with a header inside the box. And then what I would say is probably the controversial moment of the game. So Van Dijk scores, really good ball from Robertson and a superb header from Van Dijk. However, Endo was offside, but he actually didn't have any impact in the ball, but he did block off Colwill. I've seen a lot of players and ex-referees say that they think it should be a goal. However, it wasn't given. And with Liverpool's limited options on the bench, and the fact that they played in midweek whereas Chelsea didn't, towards the end of the game it was going to be really tough to keep the energy. Chelsea started attacking more. Liverpool had to obviously bring on some players just to have the energy in the squad. They'd already brought Joe Gomez on for Ryan Gravenberch, so then Bobby Clark was brought into the game. And obviously Bobby Clark's had quite a few appearances. His dad is also a former professional footballer for Newcastle and Fulham, Lee Clark. And Bobby Clark looked really comfortable. And he's had a few appearances, but obviously probably didn't expect to be in a cup final this year. Looked really comfortable. I think he actually made it quite difficult for Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez as well. So yeah, he was really good. And then Klopp had to make more subs. He took Robertson off for Tsimikas, which I don't think is really a major difference. I think Robertson is still better than Tsimikas, but I thought that substitution was fine. There was only if you class Joel Quansah as a senior player, which I do now, there was only really three senior outfield players on the bench: Quansah, Tsimikas, and Gomez. But then the substitutions that surprised me were following the Tsimikas one, and he brought on Jayden Danns. Now, we saw Jayden Danns for the first time on the bench against Luton. He came on for a couple of minutes. He actually played a really nice pass, which was part of the attack for the fourth goal Liverpool scored. I've seen Jayden Danns a lot under 21 and 18 level. He was really good. And yeah, he actually had a couple of good chances to score in extra time as well. Did well. Obviously, James McConnell has started a game for Liverpool, but again, having to bring on these young lads in a Carabao Cup in a cup final is just huge responsibility. But Klopp obviously had faith in them, and they paid it off. Obviously, Chelsea towards the end of the game hit the post with Gallagher, 1-on-1 with Gallagher, saved by Kelleher. Kelleher had a brilliant game for the backup goalkeeper. Then there was that flurry right at the end of the 90 minutes with I think Nkunku, Gusto and Palmer. Don't know how it didn't go in. I also forgot to mention Kelleher's save in the first half to deny Palmer, but also the block from Wataru Endo to stop Jackson trying to score the rebound, let's say, because he probably still would have missed. Really good. And then when he got to extra time, you could see that the players were knackered. Luis Diaz and Harvey Elliott had done so much running. And they just didn't have any more in the tank. Same with Endo, first half of extra time, nothing really happened, but Liverpool started to get into the game a bit more. And seeing as Chelsea were the better team for the last 20 minutes of the normal time, it was really surprising actually going into extra time, seeing Liverpool have more of the ball, have more chances. And then obviously after 15 minutes, he took Ibu Kanate off for Jarell Quansah, just so there was fresh legs in the defence. And also I believe Kanate was booked. I'm 90% sure on that. So obviously if Chelsea get an attack right to a counter-attack, Quansah can take the yellow card, stuff like that. Didn't really think at the time, Kanate has to be a penalty taker. Obviously at this point I'm thinking, who is going to take the penalties for Liverpool if it goes for penalties? I would have probably said Diaz, Van Dijk, Endo, Elliott, Tsimikas, maybe, because obviously, like, I just didn't really know. Joe Gomez, maybe, because obviously he's a senior player, so I think the senior players would have took the responsibility, but obviously after 5 penalties it could have been youngsters taking them as well. Even though Harvey Elliott is a youngster, he's obviously got a lot of experience, where a lot of these kids didn't have that. And then obviously Bobby Clark wins a corner, and then Tsimikas takes it, and obviously Van Dijk gets past his man. Disasi doesn't read it, and it's a brilliant header past Petrovic, who also had a really good game, by the way. I'm really impressed by Petrovic. I think I'd never heard of him before he joined Chelsea. Obviously, he was playing in the MLS, but he's really good. One of the better signings. I think Chelsea's only good signings, in my opinion, the ones that have proved their money this season, is Gusto, Palmer, and Petrovic. That's just out of the ones that are signed in the summer. Obviously, I mean, is there even any other good ones? And then, yeah, obviously Liverpool managed to hold on and get the win. And obviously Jurgen Klopp after the game said it was probably the biggest achievement. I think he said it was his biggest achievement, winning this cup with the squad he had, and the circumstances. And that's a man that's won a Premier League, a Champions League, a Bundesliga, Club World Cup, etc. So even though it might be the 4th out of the 4 major trophies, so you've got the Premier League and then the European one, so the Champions League or Conference League, Europa League, etc. Then the FA Cup and then the League Cup. Obviously the League Cup is probably, well, it is number 4 in terms of priority, but at the end of the day it's still a major trophy. And obviously it was really nice seeing all of the youngsters from the academy pictured, which you can see in the bottom right corner. Yeah, really, really good. Obviously, Trey Anonyi, who is next to Alexander-Arnold, 16-year-old, was on the bench, and he probably will get to make his debut against Southampton tomorrow night. There's Lewis Kumas as well next to him, and then there's obviously injured players with Trent, Stefan Bajcetic, who's almost back after a long absence, and Ben Doak as well. Players that would have been in the squad if they weren't injured. But yeah, all of the youngsters did themselves proud. Obviously, Connor Bradley's had a brilliant, on the football pitch, he's had a brilliant last month and a half. Obviously, off the pitch, not as much, with some really obviously sad news. So yeah, that explains the game. Now, obviously, the standout players, man of the match and rightly deserved, Virgil van Dijk. Obviously, in my last Spud Ball video, which was about 2 months ago, I did have him down as the player of the season so far in the Premier League. I still agree with that. I just think he's been absolutely world class. And obviously a lot of people, have him in like the GOAT debate for centre backs in the Premier League. For me, he is in there. He's obviously in there. There'll obviously be some people that won't want to agree with that, but he is. You can put him in whichever, you can put him at 1, 2, 3, whatever, but he is in that conversation. And the fact that he had that long-term ACL injury, And then the season after his injury, he was magnificent, and then he dropped off a bit last season. Everyone said that he was going to be finished and that. And then this season, he's been probably the best centre. Oh no, he has been the best centre back in the world. Um, yeah, just remarkable. And obviously Jurgen Klopp next. Huge credit has to go to Klopp for the victory, giving the youngsters the faith and belief that they can join the game, not just run around, but actually cause Chelsea problems. There was a clip where Bobby Clark was actually pointing to where he wanted the ball, stuff like that. That youngsters, you normally see youngsters into a big game like this, big moment in front of a big crowd at Wembley. They wouldn't have the confidence for that. Obviously, Klopp has a lot of faith in the academy, and whoever replaces Klopp at the end of the season has to also have that belief in the academy, um, rather than just shiny toys that cost a lot of money. And then next, I'm going to mention Wataru Endo. When Wataru Endo, after Liverpool missed out on Lavia and Caicedo, I mean, Lavia definitely was the right idea not to get him in the end now. Obviously, they signed Wataru Endo from Stuttgart, and everyone was laughing at it. Liverpool fans were fuming about it. I always thought, just give the guy a chance. You know, his stats were good in the Bundesliga, playing for a team that was fighting relegation. But I didn't think he'd be as good as he was. Now, he struggled at first, and that's perfectly fine. You know, it's a brand new league. The intensity in England is a lot harder than in Germany. But people are like, oh, you've signed a 30-year-old. And obviously, he's 31 now, but he's just really, really good. He's obviously the captain of Japan. You know, he does a lot of things that Fabinho couldn't do last year for Liverpool. I'd say last year's Fabinho was way worse, and it's a huge upgrade. And Klopp said, you know, he doesn't play like a 31-year-old. He's got loads of energy. You know, he's really good at tackling. He's good at passing. He likes to play the ball forward rather than backwards as well, which is something that obviously football fans want to see. And yeah, he thoroughly deserved that medal, and he thoroughly deserves to play for Liverpool as well. He's become a bit of a cult hero in the last 3 months. Ever since that Fulham game where he came on and scored the goal to make it 3-3. And then obviously Kelleher, I've also mentioned Petrovic already, but Kelleher was really good. Obviously Alisson's out till the end of March, so he's going to also be playing against Manchester City in a couple of weeks' time, which is probably the most important game of Liverpool's season in the Premier League now. And yeah, he to be honest, he's played a lot of games this season. He got the Europa League group stages, but obviously Alisson was meant to play in the last 16, but I think Kelleher will have to. He always plays the Carabao Cup, but he's played quite a lot of Premier League games this season as well, more than he's ever played before. And he's had a few poor games and a few shots he should have been doing better with, especially against Luton and Fulham in the Premier League. But he was remarkable. 9 saves. Petrovic made 10 as well. The save to stop Cole Palmer in the first half was magnificent. The run out of his box to stop Gallagher in the second half was really good. Also, the leg to stop Gusto's shot as well, really good. Yeah, what a goalkeeper. Obviously, Liverpool had £15 million bid for him. They rejected it. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with Kelleher in the summer. He's obviously 25 now. If he's happy to be number 2, I think he should be, because he's a really good number 2. But obviously, the new manager might not want to play the number 2 in the Carabao Cup next season. It's just stuff like that you've got to kind of think and assume. I think he will play. I think if whoever comes in next season will play Kelleher in one of the competitions, maybe even both the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, but we'll have to see. And then obviously the next 2 players, Diaz and McAllister. So Diaz, he created a few chances. I thought he had a good game, but it was just like he was just running, you know. He gives everything, Diaz. I think that's just a South American trait in terms of footballers. They try to give absolutely everything on the pitch. And I thought he had a good game. And to be honest, Diaz has had a really good 2024, especially after what happened with his dad and his mum getting kidnapped in Colombia. He'd had a bit of a poor season and people were wanting him sold. But ever since that Newcastle game on New Year's Day, I think he's been really, really good for Liverpool. Again, because when he first joined, he was really good. You know, he got man of the match in the FA Cup final in his first season. Played well in the Carabao Cup final as well in 2022 against Chelsea. I do really like Luis Diaz. Yeah, he might not have the goal output that Mo Salah, Diogo Jota have. Even Darwin Núñez as well. But I do think Diaz is quite important, and some people would put them in Liverpool's best front three. You might see it as Diaz, Núñez, Salah. Some people have it as Diaz, Jota, Salah. Some people have it as Jota, Núñez, Salah. But yeah, Diaz is really good. And it's good that he's got confidence at the moment as well. And then Alexis McAllister, who in my opinion is a top 3 signing of the season, alongside Palmer and Rice, for £35 million as well. It's just remarkable. Obviously, he can play in the 6 or the 8. He's definitely better as an 8 than a 6. I think he plays better when Endo plays as well. But obviously, Endo was at Asia Cup recently. Yeah, McAllister, really good. Gives everything. I think he had a really good game against Chelsea as well. And he also had a really good game against him in the Premier League as well. At the end of January. And I've already mentioned the youngsters as well. So yeah, basically just my review. I think it was a really good game. Liverpool-Chelsea finals are always really good, but they barely find any goals. Virgil van Dijk, man of the match as well, stepped up. The captain stepped up and delivered the trophy for Liverpool. And yeah, if I was to do player ratings, I think everyone would get an 8. Obviously, Gravenberch maybe like a 6, but obviously that's not his fault. He was injured. But yeah, I think for Chelsea, I think it's really embarrassing though that Chelsea lost the way they lost. Questions have to be asked of Pochettino after that, in my opinion. But at the same time, Pochettino's not the one that made Gallagher miss, Palmer miss, Jackson miss. You know, they had better options off the bench, Chelsea, but Mudryk doesn't do anything but run. He has got a really nice tattoo though, that butterfly one. Madueke, when he was playing at PSV, looked really good. Now he just looks lost. I don't really know what Chelsea's plans are in the summer window, but they'll have to sort that out anyway. But yeah, that was my review and analysis of the Carabao Cup final. The next Spud ball, the next Spud ball will probably be after the last 8. After the last 16 of all the 3 European competitions is complete, and we've got the quarter-final and the semi-final draw. I'm going to predict who's going to win the Champions League from that, and the Europa League and Conference League. My prediction for who's going to win the Champions League this season was an absolute joke. Don't laugh, but I put Bayern Munich because I thought they were going to sign Palhinha in January. Massive thank you for everyone that's watched this video though. I do really appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Cheerio.